Hello and welcome back to another GCSE revision video. Now, if you've been following First Rate Tutors for long enough, you will know that we've helped hundreds of GCSE students get 6s, 7s, 8s and 9s in the final English Literature Paper 1 and Paper 2 exams, as well as in their Language Paper 1 and Paper 2 exams through our GCSE weekly Language Paper 1 and Paper 2 masterclasses, as well as our GCSE Literature Weeks, where we go over in intensive half-term revision classes how to get grade 7, 8s and 9s in your upcoming Literature Paper 1 and Paper 2 exams. But we've also, of course, achieved this through our videos on YouTube and TikTok. Now, guys, we are officially 100 days away from the GCSE Literature Paper 1 exams. What that means is this: if you are in Year 11, class of 2025, and you're going to be sitting your Literature Paper 1 exams in exactly 100 days, I want to show you guys the top 3 errors that students make between now and the final exams that not only costs them marks, but actually is the worst use of their time. Remember, guys, that the difference between a student who ends up getting 6s, 7s, 8s and 9s versus students who find themselves struggling with 2s and 3s is actually not how much they've written. It isn't actually how much they know a novel, poem or play. It is how they revise in a way that not only does justice to the knowledge of the text, but also, most importantly, because this is where the marks reside, their ability to analyze, to show that they can synthesize the understanding of what's happened in the novel, context, themes, symbols, and put this all together in a way that answers the questions that's put in front of them in their 2025 Literature Paper 1 exams that are in 100 days. So what I want to do within this video, guys, is to show you, especially if you have a very clear vision on what you want to get. You want to hit grade 6 in your Literature Paper 1 exams. You want to hit 7s, 8s and 9s. And you want to do amazingly so that you are done with English and you never have to look back in your exams in 100 days time. Avoid these 3 top errors when it comes to preparing for your Christmas Carol GCSE exams, okay? And not only will I highlight the 3 most common errors that students always make when it comes to the GCSE Literature Paper 1 exams, but I want to always give you guys solutions, okay? The whole point of this YouTube channel is to show you guys how you can optimize, how you can study efficiently, and to also show you that if you want to get a 6, 7, 8 or 9, right? So you might be currently at a 2 or a 3, you're actually not that far off, right? It's just more so correcting your course, okay? Because you're probably spending, in terms of revision, just as much time in practice as the student that gets 6s, 7s, 8s and 9s. However, you're probably focusing on the wrong things, okay? And speaking of also preparing for your GCSE Literature Paper 1 exams, don't forget that I'll be having a one-off Christmas Carol GCSE class during February half term. This is the 18th of February, where not only will I answer the GCSE 2023 question that came up for Christmas Carol, because in my previous one-off Christmas Carol GCSE masterclass, which was back in October, we looked at the 2024 question. But in addition to that, I will be sharing with my students a document, a cheat sheet. It's actually, in fact, a 3-page cheat sheet, which I had put together, and it took me lots of hours, that have every single thing that you need in one place for a Christmas Carol when it comes to your revision, when it comes to your memorizing quotations, context and themes, so that you can put the novels away. You can then focus on memorizing what's in that cheat sheet and use 100% of your revision time practicing past paper questions and working on moving up through the grades and getting those 6s, 7s, 8s and 9s. Okay, so make sure you join in that Christmas Carol GCSE masterclass, which is going to be on the 18th. And this is going to be part of my February half-term literature week, where I'm going to be looking at Macbeth, Inspector Calls and so on. So make sure you sign up. Let's look at the top 3 mistakes that students make when it comes to preparing for the GCSE Literature Paper 1 exams. Avoid these mistakes and lock in using these more efficient strategies that students who get 6s, 7s, 8s and 9s always apply, that get them those top grades and top marks every single time. Now, the first common mistake that you might be making currently, right? Remember, you've only got 100 days until your GCSE Literature Paper 1 exam. The top mistake to ask yourself is, Are you reading and rereading Christmas Carol? What I mean by that is the top mistake that students make, and this demonstrates an inefficient study pattern, an inefficient study routine, is having really rubbish study skills whereby they are wasting their time reading, rereading A Christmas Carol 1,000 times instead of actually practicing past paper questions. Remember that your GCSE Literature Paper 1 exams are not a test of how well you know A Christmas Carol. They are a test of how well you are able to write perceptively in connection to the extract that's in front of you and in connection to you synthesizing stuff like context, themes, and Dickens's message. Instead of studying in this inefficient way, this is what you should do instead if you're currently practicing these really inefficient and kind of rubbish study skills, okay? This is your solution. Students who end up getting top tier marks instead have actually a very efficient and clever study skill, which is they literally stop reading. They put the novel away. They put the novella away. They put the plays away. They put the novels away at this stage in their GCSE exams preparation. What students who end up getting 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s in Christmas Carol do instead is, number one, they put away the novel, and instead they literally memorize character quotes related to all the main characters in Christmas Carol. I would like to recommend between 3 to 5 character quotes per main character, so start memorizing that. And they also know what a grade 9 essay looks like, so that as they are practicing past paper questions, because this is what they're spending 100% of their time doing when it comes to the English prep, they know exactly what a grade 9 model answer looks like, and then all of their practice is working in that direction. And again, guys, in my one-off Christmas Carol GCSE Masterclass on the 18th of February, I'll be writing a grade 9 response. That's precisely why I always write a grade 9 response during my live masterclass, so that my students can take away this printed response and literally use that as part of their revision, okay? They literally know what analysis looks like, how to synthesize all of this information that they've been learning throughout the year into an essay that answers the question directly and doesn't slip into descriptive territory and describing what's going on in A Christmas Carol. The second most common mistake that students who find themselves getting 2s and 3s in the Christmas Carol exams make is describing Scrooge's change as a character. Remember, when it comes to Christmas Carol, you will always have an opportunity to talk about Scrooge in any question, by the way. So if you get a theme question, if you even get a different character question, you will always somehow find yourself talking about Scrooge. What students who are stuck with 2s and 3s and students who don't get the grades that they are happy with in Christmas Carol end up doing is they describe how Scrooge goes from being really greedy to being generous. You need to stop doing that. Stop in your essays describing how he goes from being greedy to generous and thinking that you are analyzing and you're by talking about his transformation, because this is very shallow and basic analysis. Instead, this is what you should do when you're practicing for your Christmas Carol GCSE exams. You should talk about Scrooge's transformation as an allegory. In other words, you need to talk about, and again, remember that you're always going to have an opportunity in any Christmas Carol essay to talk about Scrooge, okay, and take up that opportunity. However, when you talk about Scrooge, always talk about how he's used by Dickens as an allegorical character whose transformation reflects broader issues like poverty, class, social injustice, and even Dickens's criticism of the government and its new poor laws, okay? That's how you talk about Scrooge, not describing, oh, he was really greedy and now he's transformed into being a generous benefactor. No, that's not analysis. You need to talk about how his transformation is an allegory, how he's used as an allegorical character with which Dickens explores all of these themes and all of these contexts. Again, if you're thinking like, okay, how do I do that? Like, what does an essay that does this look like? Literally just join in my February half-term Christmas Carol GCSE Masterclass. It's a one-off class at 5 to 6 p.m. and you will see in my GCSE essay, so in the grade 9 essay that I put together, which includes a thesis statement, how I synthesize that so that when you take away that essay, you can use the language that I use when showing Scrooge as an allegorical character. The third common error that students make when it comes to Christmas Carol is they forget to talk about context and symbols. Remember that context and symbols are separate, but you need to talk about both in your essay if you're aiming to get at least a 7, 8, or 9, okay? Now, remember that a lot of students, and this is a really common error, they tend to forget to weave in context and clever symbols, and thus their analysis once more is shallow and they are stuck in lower levels when it comes to the final result that they get. Instead, this is what you should be doing in your GCSE exam in 100 days time. Instead, you must always mention within all of your paragraphs for Christmas Carol context and symbols. In other words, you need to talk about, when it comes to stuff like context, the Victorian era, right? All of the issues and all of the challenges and the class divisions that existed during the Victorian era. Of course, also the issue of child labor. Remember that Dickens himself also worked as a child laborer at 12 when his dad went to a debtor's prison. You need to weave that in. And also, of course, this novella is a massive and scathing criticism of the new poor law. When it comes to symbols, you need to, amongst other symbols, talk about things like, for example, how fog is used in stave 1 to symbolize Scrooge's ignorance. Equally, symbols like Marley's chain, which represent worldly wealth. And also, for example, when it comes to things like light, how light is used. For example, the Ghost of Christmas Past, right? Light representing knowledge and enlightenment, and so on. There's several symbols in the novella. Again, I go over this when I'm going to be doing my one-off GCSE Christmas Carol Masterclass during February half term on the 18th of February. And not only will I show you guys how to study efficiently and really go beyond studying efficiently, actually practicing your past paper exams efficiently, because remember that 100% of your time between now and your GCSE Literature Paper 1 exams should be spent on revision, and revision means actual past paper practice. But in order to do so, not only do you need to know what a solid grade 9 paragraph looks like, but also you need to have in one place your main quotes that you've memorized, context and themes. And this is exactly what I do for my students in my Christmas Carol GCSE Masterclass, so that they don't have to actually spend any extra time actually putting together any of this information. After each masterclass that I do during Literature Week, they can go off and spend 100% of the time actually practicing past paper questions. So I hope this helped, and thank you so much for listening.